Hello. For a lot of us who are on the spiritual journey, one of the questions that comes up or could be coming up is, when do I surrender? When do I surrender? What does really surrender mean? Especially for those of us who are on the spiritual journey, we are on this path because we as children had a little bit of a struggle, let's say, in understanding who we are, in standing up in our authenticity, in standing up for our rights, in standing up in our sense of self. So in a lot of ways, we on the spiritual path have gotten very used to actually pushing into our lives. And the spiritual journey is really now showing us that we're stepping into a new version of ourselves where we don't have to continue to keep the old patterns and behaviors that we had learned when we were children. Now, when we specifically look at this in the context of surrender, what it really means is that some of us learned the habit of resisting a certain outcome and also got in the habit of controlling how we moved through a situation in order to survive the nature of our experiences. And so this became a learned pattern, a learned habit, a learned behavior within ourselves. So in a way, we had to do this as part of our childhood experiences, because if we did not, we won't be here today. It was important for our survival reasons. But now that we are here and we are doing our spiritual work, it's really about unwinding and unlearning some of the learned behaviors that may be taking us out of our element of neutrality, our element of objectivity. So there are still going to be areas which we want to control in our lives. And control and resistance is really our way of controlling the nature of our experiences so that we can have certainty on the outcomes that we are seeking. So this is what I want you to recognize when it comes to surrender. So when you ask a person who is very used to controlling the nature of their experiences, for them surrender is going to be really hard because they've learned this as a survival habit. Okay, so I also want you to recognize that when it comes to survival, you absolutely will be required. In fact, it'll be absolutely essential for you to want to control the outcome and nature of your experiences. Because if you were out in the wild and you did not control the nature of your experiences, it means certainty in the form of death. Okay? So when it comes to survival, you would not surrender. Okay? So if you were out on the street and you became homeless, you were still not going to surrender. You're going to try to control and resist and hold on. And this is something you will need to keep in order to survive the nature of your experiences. However, when it comes to you expanding and growing, you becoming a bigger version of yourself, however, when it comes to you becoming a larger version of love in this world and standing in love, what it means is that you actually learn to look at your old habit of resistance and control with a new pair of eyes, which means you acutely become aware of the context of the experience that you're having before you decide whether you should be resistant and controlling in that experience. I'm going to pause right there because it's going to contradict many of the spiritual teachings that you might have heard. Most of the spiritual teachings you have heard will tell you that you should just purely surrender. Now, I'm going to tell you it's almost impossible for the human to completely surrender. You're going to keep an element of resistance and control, and that element of resistance and control, you will need to have that in order for you to grow, because otherwise there's no real indication of what is going on for you, no feedback, no biofeedback mechanism, no emotional feedback for you to look at what is happening underneath the control and the resistance. So control and resistance are surface level feedback mechanisms, emotions and thoughts that are showing you something deeper within you. I want you to look under the hood of the control and the resistance to really uncover what it is that you're trying to control. And if you really looked underneath, you will realize it's a fear of something. And getting in the habit of looking at your fear directly in its eye is what the message of control and resistance is all about. Now, if you take this and you apply it in any situation, you will understand the nature of the fear that you are experiencing, and you will get closer to your fear. And this is what you have been resisting and avoiding and controlling. And when you can get into your fear, and your emotions and thoughts are your gateways to get into your fear. Now, when you can get into your fear, you can get to the root cause of why you're trying to control and what you are trying to resist in reality. And this is truly the gift of recognizing that you are controlling and resisting something in your life. So you are never going to really give up your desire to control and resist, but instead you are going to look underneath the hood of your control and resistance and look at what it is that you are controlling and resisting, and what is the fear that you're trying to avoid manifesting in your reality. So the focus shift, the belief shift you must have is that control and resistance is bad. Control and resistance are not bad. They are feedback mechanisms that are giving you insight into a deeper reality that is present for you. So I want you to get in the habit of looking at what is the deeper reality that is present for you. And when you look at the deeper reality, you might uncover, in fact, what it is that you are fearing, looking at. And that is the message of the control and resistance. Now, it is not always easy to look at your fear straight in the eyes. You're going to need tools that actually allow you to let go of your resistance, your control, and so that you can look at the fear directly in its eyes. But when you do, the fear is also a messenger of what it is that you are truly desiring in your life. Now you can shift your focus from that which you are fearing to that which you are desiring. In effect, what you will be doing is you will be shifting your mindset and your attention from your reptilian, which is the oldest part of your brain, your animal brain, and bringing all the attention toward your prefrontal cortex, which is your executive center, and you will be recognizing in your executive center what it is that you are wanting to manifest in your life. This is how you use control and resistance to move away from fear toward that which you love. You know, all my years of working as a mind-body therapist, something I have realized very, very deeply in my own life as well as through working with clients is that the games of the ego are really very interesting, and they can be very covert, and it can be a very challenging experience to navigate the ego's realms with conscious attention and with a sense of eyes open. But when we can do this with eyes open, we can recognize our ego's role. We can actually get in touch even with our ego at the deepest levels that our soul would want us to. And when we can do this, we can recognize that love is actually present in every of those experiences. We can recognize the magnificence of love in that moment, because it's love that will bring us to recognize our fears, and it's also love that will help us to see that the fear was an important part of our survival to make it to where we are today. Have a good day.